Hi friends, Maeve and I are here to share the last bit of our book with you, The Magic Finger. Maeve, are you going to stay and listen?
No.
No?
No.
Okay, say bye.
Bye.
Alright, so when we left off, let's see here, the human ducks, I guess we'll call them, were trying to hunt the duck humans. Yeah? Okay, I think that makes sense. So they were up in the tree and they begged him, please, please, no, right? And then they kind of talked it through. They made a promise to never hunt again. And then when we left off, let's read this last little bit. It says, very well, said the duck, you may now come down. And by the way, may I congratulate you on the nest for a first effort? It's pretty good. Mr. and Mrs. Gregg and Philip and William hopped out of the nest and flew down. So this is where we left off. I'm going to show you this picture before I read this short page. So it says, then, excuse me, all at once, everything went black before their eyes and they couldn't see. At the same time, a funny feeling came over them all, and they heard a great wind blowing in their ears. Then the black that was before their eyes turned to blue, to green, to red, and then to gold, and suddenly there they were, standing in lovely bright sunshine in their own garden, near their own house, and everything was back to normal once again. So you can see the family over here kind of going, what? Hey, what happened? Our wings have gone, cried Mr. Gregg, and our arms have come back, and we're not tiny anymore, laughed Mrs. Gregg. Oh, I'm so glad. Philip and William began dancing about with joy. Then high above their heads they heard the call of a wild duck. They all looked up, and they saw the four birds, lovely against the blue sky, flying very close together, heading back to the lake in the woods. It must have been about half an hour later that I myself walked into the Greggs' garden. I had come to see how things were going, and I must admit I was expecting the worst. At the gate, I stopped and stared. It was a strange... Let me try that again. At the gate, I stopped and stared. It was a strange sight. So there they are after they're done. And then there they are up at the top looking at the ducks in the sky. Remember, this book is told from this perspective of the little girl with the magic finger. We don't learn much about her, do we? In one corner, Mr. Gregg was smashing all three guns into tiny pieces with a huge hammer. In another corner, Mrs. Gregg was placing beautiful flowers upon 16 tiny mounds of soil, which I learned later were the graves of the ducks that had been shot the day before. So this family has had a change of heart on how they feel about hunting. Very interesting story. And in the middle of the yard stood Philip and William with a sack of their father's best barley beside them. Barley is like a grain that you can eat. They were surrounded by ducks, doves, pigeons, sparrows, robins, larks, and many other kinds that I did not know. And the birds were eating the barley that the boys were scattering by the handful. So now instead of hunting the birds, they are feeding the birds. Good morning, Mr. Gregg, I said. Mr. Gregg lowered his hammer and looked at me. My name is not Gregg anymore, he said. In honor of my feathered friends, I have changed it from Gregg to Egg. And I am Mrs. Egg, said Mrs. Gregg. What happened? I asked. They seemed to have gone completely dotty, all four of them. Philip and William then began to tell me the whole story. When they had finished, William said, Look, there's the nest. Can you see it? Right up in the top of the tree. That's where we slept last night. I built it all by myself, Mr. Egg said proudly. Every stick of it. If you don't believe us, Mrs. Egg said, just go into the house and take a look at the bathroom. It's a mess. They filled the tub right up to the brim. Oh. Did I skip a page? Oh, every stick of it. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I forgot the ducks were in the house. Here, let's start that again. If you don't believe us, Mrs. Egg said, just go into the house and take a look at the bathroom. It's a mess. They filled the tub right up to the brim, Philip said. They must have been swimming around in it all night, and there are feathers everywhere. Ducks like water, Mr. Egg said. I'm glad they had a good time. Just then, from somewhere over by the lake, there came a loud bang. Someone's shooting, I cried. That'll be Jim Cooper, Mr. Egg said. Him and his 3 boys. They're shooting mad, those Coopers are, the whole family. Suddenly, I started to see red all over. Then I got very hot. Then the tip of my finger began tingling most terribly. I could feel the power building up and up inside me. I turned and started running towards the lake as fast as I could. Hey, shouted Mr. Egg. What's up? Where are you going? To find the Coopers, I called back. But why? You just wait and see, I said. They'll be nesting in the trees tonight, every single one of them. So it seems to me as though her magic finger is working to make people stop hunting animals. In the comments below, for those of you that have read this whole book with me, I want you to tell me what you think about this story. This is the first time I've read this book, so this was an interesting story for me, but what did it make you think about? Thanks for listening today.